Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Leading Our Own Way. As you know, I'm Andy White, and you're listening to the Leading Our Own Way podcast. If you've caught part one with Bec Christian, you know we've already covered some serious ground. Binge eating, forgiveness, manifestation, and finding alignment. You'll know that word alignment is very, very important. A whole new perspective around happiness and contentment for me on that one. Love it. But we're just scratching the surface. In this part two, this episode, Bec opens up about the emotional residue we all carry from our past, the transformative power of crisis, and how she completely rebranded her life and business after heartbreak. We talk about toxic relationships, self-worth, betrayal, and what it really takes to invest in yourself when everything feels like it's falling apart. I'm sure a lot of us have been there, haven't we? I'm sure you guys have, and if not, definitely somebody in your life. I think I've said it before, but it isn't just about surviving. It really isn't just about moving past it and getting it. It's about becoming limitless. And Bec is living proof that when you do the work, when you put yourself to work, you don't just heal, you evolve. So let's get right in. Here's Bec and myself.
And I always say this to clients, but how much are you willing to pay to change your life?
Yeah, bet she asked for a discount. Anyway, timeline therapy, big part for you. You mentioned, look, you've painted a beautiful picture of not only your presence and your business and what you're doing to thrive and your purpose every single day. I think your purpose is very, very clear, but I'll let you answer that one at the end of the conversation. But you like we've mentioned a lot in this conversation, you haven't got to this point from just being, I want to have a Limitless Academy for all these people I want to support. And there's always a root cause to this, right? And you said earlier about your own childhood trauma, your own things growing up. Take us down that path a little bit then. Where did it really begin for you as a young person?
I think for me, growing up, my parents split when I was probably around 2 years old. So my dad has never been consistent in my life, let's just say. And my mum obviously married to my stepdad, who's still in my life today. And our relationship was amazing up until I was probably about 14 years old. And
relationship with your mum and stepdad?
My stepdad, I've always had a very strong relationship with my mum. Like, she's my absolute rock. She's my best friend, and I would not be able to do life without her. Like, she's just a phenomenal woman. No. But my stepdad and like the relationship there was a little rocky, and he changed, let's just say, as a person. And again, it's not something I want to really dive into right now because, in all honesty, it's not my story to share. And I don't want to share what happened from a place of, again, victimization. It was more along the lines of like, this was how it was. I spent 10 years living with my mum and stepdad from the age of probably 15 till 25 until it got that bad that I got in my car, applied for a job as cabin crew down in London, and literally ran away.
How did they feel when you ran away?
I don't think they knew that, like, what I was running away from, because I was in another relationship, probably from how old was I? 18, again, till I was 25, till I left. And let's just say I was with somebody who was very much in with the wrong crowd. And I'm not proud of associating myself, I guess, in the circles that I was. But I didn't know any different, and I was always trying to fit in. I always, again, wanted to be loved, wanted to be seen, wanted to, be like everybody else. And I've always felt very different from probably since I was born, if I'm honest. I've always felt different, and I've never really fitted in. I've always felt like I was a little bit woo-woo, right? A bit spiritual, but not being able to fully express that because people think I'm crazy and things. So again, that relationship was, and again, another massive learner where I thought, this isn't my life. I'm choosing to rewrite my life because this is not it. And they thought, obviously, I was leaving because I was in such a rut, let's just say, at home. Even though I had an amazing career at the NHS, I used to work for the director of nursing, and I had an incredible, reputation there and opportunities. But I just knew I needed to start over. I remember do you remember Werner Flow?
Of course, up on the hills, yes.
Exactly.
Used to go to
And
the
you
pub
see
at the top there.
Oh, did you?
The
And like
Thingy Arms, what's it called? Hare and Hounds.
Hare and Hounds. Oh my God. And
I was
remember
there the other
sat
year
there.
when I went home.
Was you? And I remember being at the top of this hill, and obviously you see like the whole of Manchester, right? And it was all lit up at night. And that was the moment when I was like, there's got to be more to life. Like, look, it's a big wide world out there. And that was the day I got home and applied to be cabin crew, that very, very day.
Wow.
And it's crazy. So I do think that they thought I was leaving because of that. But looking back, it was an accumulation of everything. Yeah. And this is where I truly believe in, yes, manifestation, but I also believe in God, source, spirit, universe, whatever. It was like it picked me up from a place that I just wasn't meant to be and just moved me, like literally shifted me. And that's what happened like last year. Like, it shifted me out from where I was into living a life in the Cotswolds. And, you know, and this is where you have to trust. You've got to trust that intuition and that pull, even if it doesn't make any logical sense. You've just got to trust.
Absolutely. You know, side note, picturing you on Werneth is bizarre because I know it very well. It's so weird. Sorry, kind of went off on that one, but I had to say it. Yeah, so look, growing up in Manchester, now, you know, obviously my friends and family are still there. My dad's in Glossop, my mum is in Denton, all my friends are still there. We've both moved out, and it allows you to reflect on the lifestyle you, I suppose, once led. I did not have a bad childhood. I didn't meet my dad till I was about 8, and we have a good relationship, don't get me wrong, but I didn't have a bad childhood. Basketball really took me off the streets from the age of 9, 10, and I was always playing basketball every night. So I was very blessed in that regard. However, I still have an understanding now I've left Manchester of how hard life can be in Manchester and the types of people you can hang out with, because I could have easily gone into that crowd. Just while we're on that, with you and the crowd, the wrong crowd that you were in, what sort of behaviours and an environment were you in that crowd, if you can say, if you're willing to say?
Yeah, of course. Obviously alcohol, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I did
drugs.
That too. I'm not going to lie about that one.
Yeah. I mean, I drank. I used to drink and things, but I was very much around drugs and I want to say extreme violence.
Really?
You know, not that I was ever like in it or part of it, but I was surrounding myself with people that,
So do
you know
mean,
what I'm trying to say?
I think so. And remember, I've not got all my notes here. If you've told me to leave anything out, I've not written it down, and I've totally forgotten it if you have. But I am going to ask, because I genuinely have not got it here. But when you say extreme violence, did you witness extreme violence? I know you definitely don't seem to be the person to be a part of it, but did you see it?
I didn't see it. No, I didn't. I mean, I saw a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
And things like that, but where I was obviously from and living at the time, there was a lot of stabbings, right? Mm-hmm. Gunshots, like, you know, people damaging other properties and, you know, killings. Like, it was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. And no, although I wasn't, you know, at the scene and I saw it with my physical eyes, but I was very much involved in those circles. And gosh, I mean, sometimes I think, I don't know how I'm still alive. You know, like, if you actually like think about the places I was, the people I was with, how much trouble they used to get into, and I was probably sat next to him in the pub. Yeah. You know, that's how close it was. And it was just, the scary thing is, Andy, now looking back, is that it was very much made normal.
Normalised, yeah, absolutely.
Normal. It was normal. I didn't know any different. It was only when I literally moved to Windsor and I saw a whole new way of living. And I used to, you know, fly for one of the best airlines in the world. I used to work in first class, and I used to be like, my God, there is another world. I didn't even know this world existed. Yeah. And I do believe that I guess contributed to the trauma, you know, I was faced with.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, even I remember going to the pub in Denton, and I'm a talkative guy. Like, I make friends with everybody. There's running jokes that I could talk for British Telecom back in the day, right? And
were you in the right job doing a podcast?
I know, that's why I did it. Well, that's what I did. Even coming to Australia, I used to get told, yeah, you just, I don't think some people answer their phone calls because they're worried that they can't get off the phone to me, if I'm brutally honest with myself. But that's okay. I'm a big boy. I can take it. If you need to go, you need to go. Just say so. It's fine. And look, I do have energy and stuff like that, but it has hurt me. It has hurt me over time, I think, having this outwards personality. But I just want to connect, man. I love connecting, and I've always had, I think with that, though, growing up in Manchester, I had a lot of friends around me. Playing basketball, I always had people who were a lot taller than me, a lot bigger than me. So I always felt I was always pretty well protected in that regard, because I'm not really a fighter, but I was always protected, and jealousy, because I played basketball at a higher level, I had a lot of people who were jealous and would fight me, and people would stick up for me because they protected me, right? Because I was a nice guy, I suppose. But I forgot where I was going with that story. Oh yeah, going into the pub in Manchester, I knew a couple of the landlords, and some people would come in and be like, "Oh, these are a shifty lot, mate. Watch out!" And I remember this guy. He got his hand, put it behind his back, down his, towards his pants. I was like, "What the hell are you doing, mate?" And it was a gun, and that was the type of scenario I was living amongst, but didn't actually realize it until that moment that he did that. And he said, "Oh, don't worry about it." And that's how he did the hand thing behind the back to feel the handle of the gun. I was like, holy crap. He did not present himself in that way at all, but he was basically letting me know, don't worry, we're safe, because if this happens, I've got this. I'm like, a whole new level of nervousness from that point forward. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? So you're 20. You've mentioned moving to London at 25, working for the biggest airline. Where did life then take you?
Oh, literally around the world, Andy. I had the best
time.
No, I did. I had the best time. I was traveling. I was going to LA, Vegas, all of these incredible places. And I was living in Windsor for a good 3.5 years before I met my ex-husband, right? And he was in the military, and I just absolutely fell head over heels. Call it infatuation, because I didn't really fall in love with his personality and who he was as a person. But yeah, that kind of then led me on to probably the biggest change of trajectory, I guess.
Yeah. With your marriage, there was a word I think you mentioned that I did write down, and it's something I've come across a lot in my life, in a different scenario, not so much in relationships, more business relationships. But that and I didn't know it existed until I started to study and research personality types. But narcissism, that played a part in your life, didn't it?
It did, and I hate using this term narcissist, and I never really say that. Oh, I was with a narcissist. I've experienced it, and I don't want to say I was the most innocent person when I was with him, because I was very reactive, right? I was angry. I was holding a lot of trauma myself.
From the past.
Right? Massive amounts, and insecurity and never feeling chosen. But again, I didn't know. I wasn't consciously aware. And as I always say, you can't change what you can't see. And I think that's when I do take that responsibility of attracting somebody like that into my life. Because when we used to argue, it was horrendous. It was toxic, and I found myself reacting and not responding. I'm not saying I agree with the way he was. He put me down a hell of a lot. He used to say to me, we're all right on photos until you start smiling. He made me go and get a brace and fix my teeth, and loads of comments about, yeah. Best thing I ever did getting a brace, but...
Sorry?
Best thing I ever did getting a brace.
But that aside, you did it based on his instructions, and that paints a picture of where your self-worth really was, wasn't it? And your confidence levels, I suppose.
So
low.
That low? Massively low. And he used to always pick up on the clothes I was wearing. And I always remember him saying, God, you're always in black or white or beige. You're just so vanilla. So I remember going to this summer party, and I thought, right, I'm going to wear a raspberry red summer dress. I've never worn red in my life, but I think I can pull it off. I'm blonde, I've been training, and my body's looking all right. I think I can pull it off. I remember going to this party with him, But I was living with him at the time. So obviously he saw the dress. We got in the car, we got to the event. And as soon as we got to the event and we got out of the car, knowing that we'd just travelled and we couldn't obviously go back, he turned around and he said, "You look like a effing tomato in that dress."
Why didn't you fucking say something at the house then?
And I remember sat there and I just thought, why didn't you tell me? Like, but I mean, my God, if anybody said that to me now, it'd be like water off a duck's back. And that's me being completely honest. Like, I wouldn't have, it doesn't matter what people think. As long as I'm happy and comfortable with who I am and my own energy, then it doesn't matter. But it just shows how low I was. And this is what I'm saying about you attract not what you want, but who you are. I was attracting back the level of self-worth that I had about myself. And I'm not saying it's a nice thing to go through. And I know there's people out there that are in narcissistic relationships and they feel stuck and they feel trapped. And I always say this, and it's a quote that I literally live by every single day. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job, your business, or anything else. Because that is what is going to help you, again, live this limitless life.
Was he, with the type of personality that he has, because a lot of the narcissistic traits, comes in, obviously no empathy and things like that. Money can come to the centre of that. Was money an issue with him?
Oh God, he was terrible in terms of constantly spending, racking up debt, like
all
of
the
the
opposite,
things.
Isn't it?
No,
Normally,
it
like
won't
control
definitely.
of money.
No, not in. I mean, I've always been very, like, had my own bank account. I've never merged, but that's just me, right? That's just me and how I handle my finances. I've never merged with anybody else's. Of course, you're in a partnership, and you pay. For me, I pay half of everything of what I'm in.
Yeah.
But for him, it was just. It's sad. Like, looking back, it's sad because that just goes to show, like, people's behaviour, again, it's never about you. It's always about how they feel about themselves, and it's their sense of safety, right? They don't feel safe to be who they truly are. And this is where the authenticity piece comes in, because they don't feel safe in the world. And I think knowing what I know now about brain psychology, past trauma, and the effects it can have on a person. Now, again, I'm not condoning the things that he did, because he was real nasty sometimes, right? And he was it was very narcissistic behaviour, but it was a behaviour. It wasn't him as a person, because he didn't know who he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Again, I'm just trying to paint a picture with his personality. Was he, I can picture him. I can picture many people. Did he cheat on you at all? He did. Mm-hmm. That goes into it even more. There was another trauma, more of an element of trauma that comes along with this part of your journey as well, which, did you want to elaborate on that part of your journey that is quite deep, isn't it, for especially a couple, but particularly a woman? What trauma, if you were willing to talk about that part?
No, I'm absolutely healed from that side of it, and I'm more than happy to share. And I do say this a lot to people, but only share parts of your journey that you feel safe to.
Absolutely.
It's just, and I know
That's
you're
why
a big
I said
advocate.
it like that.
Of course, yeah, I know you're a big advocate for things like that. But when I was with him, I guess I just craved this family life, right? Also, I thought I wanted to be the one that got married, that had the house, that had the baby, because that's what society was telling me that's how that's how I needed to live my life. And I was 30 years old, and you know what it's like, clock's ticking, like your time's going to run out and things like that. So obviously that was in my mind, and again, this is all about like the manifestation side of things. And basically we got married. This is how far I've come in sense of my money story as well. So because he was in military, we got married for military accommodation.
Oh.
Yeah. Because
okay.
we were paid, because he was so bad with money, and I was only earning just enough to I had a little bit of disposable income back then, again, because I held the belief that I was never going to be successful because I didn't feel clever enough, right? Now I know that there are different types of intelligence, and emotional is probably the highest one, which is what we have. But we got married. We got military accommodation, so we didn't have to pay like extortionate amount in rent, because we were renting down south, and you know what the prices are down there. Yeah. And then I didn't tell anyone, because deep down I knew that it was probably the worst mistake I probably made of my life. Although I don't really believe in mistakes and failure, right? I believe in learning. and experiences, and that is how I choose to view the world. And again, that's just my opinion. But we didn't tell anyone, because what we were going to do was we physically got married in a registry office for the paperwork to be signed, and then our plan was to go out into New York and have the ceremony and invite a few friends and a few, family out there. So we moved in, we got married, and then this was like January. We got married in the January. Come the December, that was when I found out he cheated on me. So I never forget, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. He'd been out the night before, didn't tell me where he'd been, didn't even know like what time he got in or anything. He ended up sleeping in the spare bedroom, but he left his iWatch on the bedroom and on the side. And it kept flashing and flashing and pinging and pinging. So obviously it woke me up. So I went over to get the watch to just turn it off, because it was just constantly pinging through. And that's when I saw all these messages, and the messages led to images and all of this other stuff with somebody else. And I was like, oh my God, I'm married to this guy. Like, what the hell? And then I remember calling my mum, because I didn't know who else to call. And it was 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was literally beside myself, because I was like, what am I going to do? Like, seriously, what am I going to do? And then that happened. We'd planned to go to New York in the January to plan the wedding. It was my birthday as well, so everything was booked, paid for, everything. We had meetings with wedding planners when we got out there. It was all going off. And I remember sat there thinking, I don't actually know what to do for the best. And this is where it goes down to the fact that I didn't trust myself. I didn't believe in myself. And I kind of sat there and thought, well, I've made my bed, I'm going to have to lie in it. So I took him back, and the scary thing is that happened is we went out to New York. So this all happened like mid-December. We went out to New York, probably like, 2nd of January it was, because my birthday was on the 4th. And I remember being out there, and he was so drunk, and I couldn't look at him in the same way. He literally started to repel me, and I thought, what is going on? Like this, I don't know what I'm going to do. But then I did know what I was going to do, because I made a plan. And I thought, right, he's going away in the military for 6 months. I'm going to save up as much as I possibly can. I'm going to get a second job. I was working obviously full-time in corporate. And I'm going to get a second job, and I'm going to save up, and I'm going to get my own place and just leave this relationship. But I'm not going to tell him, because he's going to make my life hell. Because he scared me a little bit. Not that he was violent in any which way, but it was mental.
Yeah.
And I remember getting back from New York. I actually came back a day early. He thought it was because of the flights and the Storm Grayson at the time, because there was this massive storm out in New York. It was actually because I didn't want to spend another night or a day in another country with him. I just wanted to get home. So we flew back. And then it was a couple of days later, I started to feel really ill. And being a woman, my cycle, I'm going to say this, I know it's probably a bit too much information, but missed my period, right? And I thought, oh my God.
Oh no.
So I took a pregnancy test, and of course, it was positive. And it was in that moment where I thought, it's not just me I've got to think about now. And I never forget, I was at work when I took this test, and don't ask me why I took it whilst I was at work. I don't know. I just did. Yeah. And I remember this feeling of impending doom just like flood my whole body. And I thought, you've really made a mess of your life, Bec. Like, you was a girl that had been through so much already, that you wanted to start a new fresh start and live this amazing life. And everything you were trying to do, you wanted to be a good person, you wanted to help people, like all of this stuff. And I just thought, you have made a mess of your life, like who you've chosen to marry. I mean, I saw marriage as just a piece of paper. I didn't see it as anything else, because that was my family dynamic, I guess. It was, it never meant anything. Yeah. This is why conditioning is so like paramount, right? And you think, God. So I lived with this moment for a couple of weeks, and I was thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, this is my life. I'm going to have to accept it. And then he went out one night, and he never came home, and he never texted me, and he knew how poorly I was. Like, I was really sick. I was struggling a lot with morning sickness, and he didn't come home. And I remember waking up in that morning, and I thought, you're on your own with this baby, Bec. Like, you don't have him. You don't have support. You don't have any money. And I had this horrible feeling where I was like, this isn't the path for you. Now, call it a selfish decision. I don't know. The way I saw it back then was I come from a place of a broken family, never really feeling wanted by my dad, if I'm being completely honest. Not that that was a fact, but that's how I felt. And I'm valid to how I felt back then through action. The narcissism and his behaviour of how he was, I didn't want that for my child if I was going to have one and bring one into the world, because I know how much trauma I've experienced and how hard it's been, right, to change my life around. And call it, I mean, I don't know, people have different opinions of this. People agree with abortion, some people don't. I just did the best of what I could do with the mindset that I had back then. And I just had this feeling of, you can't, it's not fair. Because what could I offer this baby? Right? I couldn't offer it anything, because that's how low I thought of myself. I couldn't offer it anything. So obviously I made the decision to go and do, what I did. I left him and literally never looked back since.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine how hard that was, to do that and to go through that. But I believe that you made the right decision for you at the time, right? And it's powerful, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that, and then thank you for being vulnerable in that moment, because I know how hard that may have been. I don't know. Is he aware of that you did that? Was he aware that you were pregnant at the time?
Yeah, very aware. And even when I, told him what my decision was and my reasons for it, like, he didn't try and convince me otherwise. He wasn't round, because I was staying at a friend's at the time, and he knew where I was. He didn't try and make it right. He just, and thank God he didn't, thank God he didn't, because it wasn't right. And I know a lot of people have, like I said, their opinions of it. And I guess I've always been a little bit conscious, because I know there are women out there that do struggle to conceive and everything else like that. But at the end of the day, like, everyone's entitled to the way they want to live their life and how they see the world, and if it was to happen now with the way that I am, would I have had the same mindset? Who knows, right? Who knows? Know. I don't think you know until it actually happens to you. I think you can have the right intention, but when it's actually here in the physical, you just don't know.
Absolutely, Bec. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Thank you for sharing that moment. It's beautiful in its own right, for sure. And I think that Bec that was lying there in that moment in the bed, ill and not feeling great, not knowing where her husband was, if you could have ever envisioned, I'm going to hold up a very powerful picture of you now, Bec, would you have envisioned what you see here at that time?
Oh my God, no, absolutely not. And this is the thing, it's like, you have to have so much self-belief, even when it doesn't look possible. And I say this all of the time, but turning off your five senses, right? What you can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, and just have this inner trust and knowing that you can physically pick up that pen and rewrite your story. I'm literally getting goosebumps because somebody needs to hear this today. But you can literally rewrite that story, and it might not go the way you want it to go, but it will lead you on the most beautiful, transformational, epic journey of your life.
Yeah. And the transformation you have done with all this learning, that word learning, that we're training our brains and bodies to be stronger in the moment. We will go through something hard again. We will go through something that could be perceived or taken on as traumatic. However, I think with the work that you've done, that we've done, that people are doing, it makes it so much, not easier, but we accept it more. We take it on a little bit easier, and maybe we come through it just a little bit calmer, where it doesn't take us to a deep hole and darkness again, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
We did, my guest that went out this week, actually, we did a little bit of tapping. I believe you're into your EMDR tapping. I am going to bring us to the final few questions in a moment, but I thought it was another opportunity, because it would have been a few months ago when Troy went out. That's this week, but by the time we go out, it'll be a few months ago. Let's just, for those who are wondering what the EMDR, I know we've not really mentioned it, but EMDR tapping is a part of yours. Let's do a little bit whilst we're here. Would that be okay?
So EMDR tapping isn't, I do EFT tapping, so emotional freedom technique.
Sorry,
no, that's
apologies.
fine. I've experienced EMDR. So that's when I
you.
had my own therapy sessions, and that's what got me into tapping in itself.
Yeah.
You know, quite similar. You know, they've got really powerful experiences, but EFT tapping, again, it's something that I've really embodied, right? It's something that you embody and you tap on the different meridian points, and it just helps, again, to bring that emotional charge down so you can. And like you said, it's like we're always going to be challenged, right, with life events and stuff, but it's coming from a very calm and grounded energy. And it takes, like you said, it doesn't make it any easier, but it takes the edge off and you are able to cope. I think that's a massive thing for people. Like they're able to still function. And I think that's the beauty of these modalities.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we do a little bit? Can you show us?
You want to do some tapping?
Just a minute or so. I mean, just give us an idea. So anyone who is watching it, and if you are on audio, definitely please tune into the video just to get something, because this might allow someone to click on the link and come to you, or to go somewhere else, whatever it may be. And if it changes somebody's life, then it's worth doing, isn't it?
So I start off usually on the side of the hand. Okay. So I normally ground myself into the position.
Yeah.
Take a few deep breaths, and I always start off on the side of the hand. And I always start with, if I'm feeling, I mean, lean into it. How are you feeling? Like, what do you want me to tap on today?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I feel pretty all right at the moment. I don't know. That's a tough question, actually, in the morning. I didn't expect that. That was my job. What do I want to lean in today? Oh, I don't know. Give me an example what I might want to lean into. What do
I'm feeling for you.
Yeah, go on. Oh, go on. Oh, here we go.
Safe to receive.
But in what sense? What do you mean?
Opportunities. Allowing things to come in. Like allowing you to expand. And because a lot of people sometimes feel like they've got this fear of fear of failure, but it's actually fear of success.
Yeah, well, I don't feel like I'm scared of either of them. Hopefully not, anyway.
Not that you're scared or anything like that, but it's programming the mind to allow these opportunities to come easily and effortlessly to you. You know, so I guess it's hard for me to do tapping with you today, because if you're not normally, like when clients come to me, it's like, oh, I'm feeling, you know, lack of self-worth, or I'm not feeling confident, or I've got something like that. So I'll tell you what, maybe I can send you a little tapping and you can do it then and just see how that is.
No, I love that. Yeah, no, let's definitely do that. That'd be amazing. I'll try and book a private appointment with you sometime.
Yeah.
That'd be good. All right, so if there's anything that you think we should have spoken about today before we go, but we haven't, what would that be, if there's anything at all?
Gosh, I think we've covered quite a lot, Andy, don't you?
We've done well. No, we've done very well. But I always ask that question before I go into my 3 final questions, because it's an opportunity, something that should have come up, or you feel we've missed, that's just on that edge of your mind that you wanted to share. Yeah, is there anything from your journey or a perspective that you think we should have covered? But I mean, might not be. And I can go straight into my 3 final questions.
I'm happy to hear your questions.
All right, let's do it. I always ask what the future plans of my guests is, because we're here on Leading Our Own Way. It doesn't mean we've made it. It doesn't mean we've finished on our journey, and just because we're on this incredible #1 podcast in the world that we're done, right? That's a joke, by the way. Manifestation. What future plans do you have for yourself going forward in your career and personally?
So I have big plans, obviously, for my business. I've got big plans for Limitless Academy.
Yeah.
And I guess it's more, for me, it's getting my message out there of how you can rewrite your story, regardless what your current circumstances are. Because I know there are so many women that feel so stuck in situations and they can't see wood for the trees, and they can't see that light at the end of the tunnel. And again, they have this imposter syndrome, this lack of self-worth. They can't seem to, meet a partner that absolutely adores them and they've got this beautiful life together, or they can't, they've hit that glass ceiling in the business and they can't physically expand. I want to help women understand, one, who they truly are, help them really come home to themselves, to diminish as many limiting beliefs that's basically stopping their next level of success, but for them to feel like they are living in a limitless way. I'm all about limitless living, and that looks different for everybody, So yes, I've got big plans for my business, and I never really share what I've got in the pipeline as such, because I do believe there's an element of, for me, it's just like, I will share my journey as I go.
Yeah.
But I would never share my biggest vision with anyone. That's just me for me, and for me to keep working towards every single day. That's just the way that I choose to be. I used to share everything, where now I'm very protective with who I allow into my energetic field. If not to say that that's not, this is obviously a podcast and it's going out everywhere. So I think you've just got to be mindful with that from an energy perspective kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, and it's a very, very good point. You don't want, at the side of that, you don't want anyone taking your idea either, do you?
Well, that's just the business head coming on.
Of course it is, yeah, no, and I completely understand, yeah. There was one, I wrote this term, and I did want to elaborate before I go to my next one, but leaky energy. I really wanted to, it was the bottom of my notes. I should have put it a bit earlier so I could have asked it and put it into context. So I'm just going to randomly ask you to, because I wrote it on my pre-notes, on my notes, leaky energy. What is that?
Oh, when I learned about leaky energy, honest to God, my whole life and business evolved massively, because when I went through that breakup last year, and, I'm still processing it. Don't get me wrong. Don't be fooled by just because I've done a certain level of work. Like, I still don't have to do the healing. Of course I do.
Yeah.
But what I realised, what came out of that was I had this very apparent anxious attachment style. And again, it was connected to wanting to be wanted, right? Wanted to be seen, wanted to be loved. And because I've always gone through life and felt like I had to chase approval and chase love. Right. So I realised, I was like, my goodness. And, the more work you do on yourself and self-development, you kind of understand your patterns a little bit. When I realised that I had this anxious attachment style in relationships, I also had it in my business. Right. That is leaky energy. It starts to leak into different areas of your life, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So when I started to heal that part of me from a relationship perspective, because what was happening in my business was I was getting attached to clients in the sense of, they want to work with me, but are they going to stay? I feel like I need to give more, prove more, be more. And it was this whole journey that I went on, and I had to really heal again at that core level. So I stopped that energy leaking into my business, right? I see it all of the time. And that's why I work with a lot of women in business on their personal self, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. Like, for example, take binge eating. Like, you've experienced binge eating. If you're having this addiction to that, there's an unconscious pattern happening that's going on for you. It might be low self-worth, not liking what you see, not holding an identity of who you want to become. That's going to leak into your business. Do you see how it's all connected?
Yeah, no, I totally do. And I think there's parts of me that probably has leaky energy, if I'm being honest.
We all do.
Yeah. I feel like I'm very conscious of it, though, because I'm always seeking, like I mentioned that statement before to you about I'm not doing the podcast to prove other people wrong. I'm doing it to prove myself right. But and then I question, well, what am I trying to prove to myself to be right? I don't know. But I do feel like I've always sought like approval. My parents, I think maybe this is just innateness in our human physiology, but I want my parents, I want my mum and dad, even though I don't really see them often because I live here, but I want them to be proud of me. I want them to say it. I don't, you know what I mean? I want to hear that they're proud of me. I don't feel like I've ever heard them say it. They probably are, and they maybe really are. I don't know. But I don't know. And I've said that on air because I'm quite confident they don't listen to this. But even if they do, maybe I just need to say it because I'm. But now and then have I ruined it because I don't want them to say it because I've heard them say it either. You know what I mean? I don't know. I've always wanted.
Can I ask you a question, Andy?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, for sure. It's about me being vulnerable too.
Are you proud of yourself?
I am. Yes, I am, because you know what? I've always achieved everything. I've always chased everything I've wanted. I've failed, but man, I've moved to the side of the world. I've travelled to over 200 countries. 200 cities. I've done all the backpacking in the world I wanted to do. Basketball took me to places I never thought it would take me. I've got a family. I built my own house near the Great Ocean Road in Melbourne, which when I travelled here, I was like, there's no way. It wouldn't even enter my head that I would build a house on that field that I've gone past when I was backpacking, because I obviously still lived in Manchester and now I'm at the beginning of the Great Ocean Road. I love all of that. You know, I've got these beautiful sceneries and I still experience shit like everybody else. Maybe because some of the photos that might go on Facebook looks like paradise, but man, it's not paradise. It's reality. I'm still going through hurt. I still went through some of my worst times here in Australia after winning that award that I shared with you in the pre-chat, you know, and then that almost death experience. But I'm fucking proud that I got over those hurdles, but also the things that I've done in my life. If I died today, obviously I'd be devastated. I wouldn't see my children grow up and stuff like that, but I still at that point would be happy with everything I've done so far. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I am. So maybe the other bit doesn't matter. I think that's where you're leading to, right?
I don't think it doesn't matter, because I do think that feeling and emotion is valid, and we all want feedback in life, right? But I think there is sometimes a level of this expectation. Like, what's your expectation of your parents? You know, do you feel like they hold an expectation of you? And again, this is when you can start to dive into that. Obviously not this episode, but...
no, absolutely. You know, I do sense sometimes, you know, because I left teaching and I've done many things in my teaching career. You know, like I say, I won that Teacher of the Year. I got sponsored on the other side of the world to give me a job. And then I left and I worked for the Minister of the State of Education here. I've built a school from scratch, and there's only a handful of people in the world that can say they've opened a school from scratch. I've done everything in the education system apart from being a principal, pretty much, or just thereabouts. A head teacher, that would be in England, and I left because of the toxicity in the workplace, and I was going into a very dark place with burnout and toxicity and ticking boxes, and it was the furthest point of why I got into teaching in the first place, because I wanted to shape communities and help children learn and so on. But it came at such a cost, and I think most people realize that too late, whether it's the end of the career and they've missed the children growing up. I didn't want to do that. I feel like I've got the foresight, right? I think I've slowed down my aging in a way. My hair going grey but falling out, maybe, I don't know. But you know where I'm coming from. But I do feel from not just them, but life and society. We've mentioned in this episode about being programmed and expectations of our world. You know, being a casual teacher, people look down at that. But it wouldn't allow, if I went back to full-time teaching, even though I still work full-time, I wouldn't be present with my family. Because like you, I put my heart and soul into everything, but my heart and soul goes into that and into the podcast. But if I was doing that, it would also go into that, but it would come at a cost of me. And therefore everyone would lose out and the podcast wouldn't exist. So I do feel that some people go, oh, he's doing a podcast, whatever, you know, and that's fair. But it's reaching 2 million people a month now, and it's going into the top 5% in the world, hopefully by December. And I'm fucking proud of that.
Yeah, I'm proud of you too. And honestly, it's like a fellow Mancunian, eh? Who would have thought?
All Mancs are amazing.
They are.
We went off on a tangent, but second to last final question. And if you could give you've given snippets of this throughout this conversation. It's been so powerful. But if you could just leave with a powerful piece of advice for those people who can connect to your journey today, what would that be?
Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because when you truly get to know the real you, like beyond the conditioning, the fears and the patterns and everything in your external world then literally starts to shift. Because like I always say, you can't change what you can't see.
Love that. Your purpose. It's very clear what your purpose is, but I always ask the guest to put it into one powerful line. So Bec, what is your purpose?
My purpose is to help women or people, whoever comes across my content, feel safe in who they are, free from their past, and truly limitless in what they can create.
Love it. Bec, what an episode. I'm honoured to have you on the show, and it's been an absolute great conversation. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. It's just been amazing. Thank you, Bec.
I have. Thank you so much for having me.
No, absolutely. You're welcome back anytime. You can become a resident guest if we ever need a resident guest, fellow Mike. Anyway, thank you so much. You're on a great journey. I'm very honoured to have you here, and I love what you're doing in this world. Everyone, I will put all the information of Bec and her business and herself and her socials on the show notes. If you want to make connection with Bec, please, please, please do so. And also share it, because there might be someone, no, I can guarantee there'll be someone in your life that will need Bec in their life as well. So to everybody, from Bec and myself, have a great week. Keep leading your own way, and make sure you come back next week for another amazing guest. We'll see you then. Until then, keep leading your own way. Bye. Well, we're here. Listen up. Bec Christian just laid it all out. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the moment she chose herself and became limitless. That's the power of doing the work. If you want to know a little bit more about Bec, please go to the show notes, follow her social media, and get in touch with her if you feel she can help you, because she can. Let's face it. I've got a question for you. Here's my question. What are you still holding on to that's keeping you small? What pattern are you ready to break? Because you're not stuck. You're standing at the edge of your own transformation. Please leave a comment in the comment section if you can. Answer that question for me. That'd be amazing. If this conversation hit you, though, please leave us a review on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you share it. You can share it with somebody, who needs this message, and connect with Bec as well. She's out here changing lives. Another great week, wrapping it all up on here on Leading Our Own Way. Go lead your own way. I'm Andy White, and we'll see you next week for another amazing guest. Until then, have a great weekend. And like I just said, and I love saying it, keep leading your own way. See you then. Thanks for listening and watching Leading Our Own Way. So we can stay together forever and share more incredible journeys, please subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss next week's episode and what that amazing guest has to offer to the world. Please support Leading Our Own Way, and we'll get you on next week's episode.